So I'm Michelle Batty. I'm the chair of the Sarnia Lambton Committee Against the Trafficking of Women and Children, and also the executive director of the Sexual Assault Survivor Center and the Women's Interval Home. Thank you. It's a big mouthful. I won't add all the other committees I'm on. When I think about human trafficking and where we are today, it reminds me of so many years ago when I think about sexual violence and what's happened. I think back to 1980 when I was working at the Children's Aid Society, and back then the word was that, well, there's not a whole lot of childhood sexual abuse occurring. It's really physical abuse and neglect. In 1982, the government started to recognize that, hey, yeah, there was a lot of sexual assault happening because the women's movement in the late 70s started to talk about it. So I was involved in the first investigative training and came back to Children's Aid here in Sarnia and trained my co-workers on investigating for childhood sexual abuse. And back then, people were saying, well, you know, there's really not a whole lot, which is like what we hear today about human trafficking. Here in Sarnia, they, you know, understand the international trafficking, but they don't really think about the domestic trafficking and what's happening. And a lot of times we just don't have the words for things. This week, this is the Sexual Harassment Awareness Week. On Wednesday, I was in Chatham with our sister center, Michelle Schreier, as they were honoring the anniversary of the death 20 years ago of Teresa Vince, who died was murdered in the workplace at Sears in Chatham. And the presentation of what the struggles and the advocacy that had to happen over the last 20 years to get to the point where we now have legislation. It's in the Occupational Health and Safety Act, but it was 20 years of being, you know, squashed and no, it doesn't really happen, and not having the language or the words that, hey, what happened to me was sexual harassment. And I see human trafficking that we're kind of in that same spot where people are starting to talk about it, but they're still saying, well, not in Sarnia, but yet the work that we do here, whether it's victim services, at the Women's Interval Home, Sexual Assault Survivor Center, our immigrant workers, we're seeing it. We're seeing the clients. They're coming to us. They're coming to us for help to get to safety. They're coming to us for help to help them heal from the tragedies that they've endured in human trafficking. And if we don't look at it and recognize it, then we're not going to be able to really make a difference about making some changes. And I would truly believe that public education and awareness is key. We need to plug away at that. We need to teach our children risk reduction tools, give them the resiliency and information so that they can get away or talk to someone. We all need to be better bystanders. We need to be persons who can recognize that, hey, this doesn't look right, let's do something about it. Even if it's just talking to the person and asking them, are you okay? And then they have some choice and maybe giving information. So I don't want to take up all the time because we have a lot of awesome speakers this afternoon for our launch. One of the things I really did want to do, though, is to thank a number of people. Our committee, which is second to none, having that connection with the sisters, the St. Joseph's, Ursuline sisters, and the Justice. It's been a really wonderful, unique opportunity to network and work together between the women's movement and our community and faith-based. I think that is where we're going to really see some changes. I also want to thank the generous support that we received from others in our community to help us cover the cost of bringing the gift box from Toronto to Sarnia. The IODE Errol Egremont chapter. Yay! I'm going to do the extra plug because I'm a member. Our Lady of Help Catholic Women's League Wallaceburg, Sarnia Evangelical Missionary Church, St. Michael Parish Catholic Women's League, St. Michael's Parish, Sacred Heart Catholic Parish. So from the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much. So I'd like to call on Mayor Mike to say a few words.